Hey guys, welcome back to the Mega Colosseum Association. This week, week 3, Commander and Conquer takes on ClubShay, coach of the Boise Blastoise. You can see his team off to the side there, as always. Now, the absolute unit of a Raging Bolt is a Terra Captain, which is terrifying in itself. But with the support of Rillaboom, Snow from Obama Snow, some hazard control and Espeon and Cinderace, as well as Glimmet, that Raging Bolt is going to be a major issue. But it's not even just Raging Bolt. With the power of Urshifu, Enamorus, and Bramblegast, he also packs an enormous punch behind all that tanky prowess. And Araquanid Web's very annoying. That's it. That's all it does, but it's very annoying that it does that. So to make sure that that doesn't happen, this week our first Pokemon here is Mr. Electric, the Regieleki, back from his week 1 outstanding performance of not killing a Golden-Go. But this week, he's cool. Now, a Scarf Cinderace does outspeed us, which is insane. But maybe he won't bring it. This is speed creep to outspeed a non-Scarf Cinderace. Please don't bring Scarf Cinderace. But we have Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Thunder Wave, and Rapid Spin, just trying to do some good damage since his only real Thunderbolt and Volt Switch Absorber is going to be a Terra Ground on one of his Terra Captains. Or just, he decides to just quad resist the hit. But he has no way of stopping our Volt Switch if he's not Terra Ground on something. Next up, we need something to try to just wall out that Raging Bolt, so we have a Max Special Bulk Schnitzel this week, with Spike's Whirlwind, Throat Chop, and Stomping Tantrum. Stomping Tantrum over Earthquake, of course, because of the Rillaboom and its grassy terrain. Throat Chop will allow us to one-shot an Espeon if it decides to come in to try to reflect our spikes. And Whirlwind is to get rid of a Raging Bolt if it tries to set up in our face, because he doesn't respect us. Next up, we have Banded Barst, the Cleavor, with U-Turn, Stone Axe, Close Combat, and Quick Attack. Speed creeping that Araquanid to hopefully one-shot it with a Banded Stone Axe. Close Combat is there to help potentially pick up a kill on Urshifu or Registeel. And U-Turn is just to U-Turn. Quick Attack will maybe help us pick up a KO along the way if need to be. It's supposed to be sharpness. It is sharp. It is sharpness. It's not swarm. It is sharpness. Don't worry. And next we have our Terra Captain for this week, Razor Jin, of course, back again with Terra Fairy this time, running a purely special build with Terra Blast Fairy to try to kill that Urshifu, Dark Pulse, Focus Blast, and Psychic Noise to hit the, threats along the way. Trying to remember what this is speed creeping. I believe it's Cinderace. It's probably Cinderace. Let's just say it's Cinderace, just to say it's Cinderace. Hoopa Unbound. It should live a Wicked Blow or a Sucker Punch from that Urshifu if it's banded. Note the should. This mild might not help that. It is mild. I am doing this team preview after the battle, I will admit. So it was mild for the fight. It was supposed to be modest, but it wasn't. Next up, we have Climactic Honnold after his amazing week 1 as well. Here to be absolutely cool with his Power Pack taste of being tanky. With Toxic, Recover, Surf, and Venoshock, max physical bulk, with a Rocky Helmet to try to come in on the Cinderace. If he tries to court change away our hazards or get some momentum with U-Turn, we can punch it immediately with Rocky Helmet. Same with his Rillaboom. Maybe we can Toxic the Raging Bolt to try to wear it down. Surf and Venoshock to help deal with, other things. His only Toxic answers are Glimmet and Registeel. Oh, and Espeon, but Espeon's not a Pokemon, I've decided. So, also if he's Espeon, we just immediately go into one of our Dark types. That's fine. But outside of those two, Toxapex should win every single fight. Maybe Enamorus. Maybe Enamorus. And then, of course, rounding out the squad this week, we have another Rocky Helmet, this time on Telethia, with Air Slash Knockoff Substitute and Brick Break. We are running Air Slash over Bleak Winter Hurricane, so we can catch that Bramblegast off guard and one-shot it, hopefully. Some physical bulk to try to take on that Urshifu or Cinderace as well. Substitute is there to potentially take a Draco from Raging Bolt before we leave, just so we can drop its special attack before we have to get out of there. And that's it. That's the team for this week. Let's get right into the battle. Alright guys, so again, I'm sorry, unfortunately I was not able to get a recording during the actual battle itself this week, so we are going to have another round of post-commentary. I promise you next week I'll get the recording when my battle, I swear, I promise to you. So as we can see, for this battle, he did bring his Urshifu, Raging Bolt, Registeel, Rillaboom, Bramblegast, and Cinderace. No Enamorus. It's not a Pokemon. I told you. I might have said Eternatus in the Teambuilder. I forget. I get that confused a lot. But Enamorus is not a Pokemon. Neither is Eternatus, but neither is Enamorus. So his Terra Captains, that is a Terra Fairy on the Raging Bolt, and as you saw in the Teambuilder, I am Terra Fairy on Hoopa. Now, immediately starting out, I do not see an answer to Regieleki, so I just raw lead with it. He leads with his Rillaboom. And immediately I go into my Tornadus to answer it. He does knock off the Rocky Helmet, which does suck. Let me crank up the speed here a little bit. I'm sorry. He goes Bramblegast to try to, I don't know, beat Bramblegast. But he does end up taking the Air Slash on the entry. So his spinner is gone. He immediately loses his spinner. I'm cranking the speed back down. He goes Raging Bolt. Immediately I go into my Tinglu to try to respond to it. Now, it being Terra Fairy does mean he can hit me kind of hard, but he doesn't end up doing it. He goes for the Draco Meteor. And now I am just a Tinglu on a mission. I'm going to get my spikes up as he goes into Rillaboom. And I will simply immediately go back into Tornadus to take this U-turn as he goes into Cinderace. Now, I know I live one of any moves, so I just tank the Pyro Ball, go for an Air Slash. I do get burned by the Pyro Ball, but that's fine. Now I decide to go into Toxapex to just take whatever he wants to throw at me. Now he goes for the U-turn after a Pyro Ball. It gets a little bit of chip from that Rocky Helmet, but he goes into his Raging Bolt, which gets Toxic immediately, and I am living. I'm awesome. He goes into Cinderace, I go into Tinglu, and immediately I just double right back into Toxapex. There's nothing this thing can do to me. He's going to take more Rocky Helmet chip from his U-turn. He goes into his Registeel, and I just go into Tinglu. We end up exchanging some hazards a bit. He goes for Body Press. I'm scared of taking more Body Presses, so I go into Toxapex, hoping to take another Body Press and give him some Rocky Helmet chip, and that is exactly what happens. He ends up switching into his Raging Bolt on my switch into Regieleki. Nice Rapid Spin to get rid of these rocks, as he decides to Volt Switch out into his Cinderace, which I can see now is Boots, so I am no longer afraid of it being faster than me. He goes into Rillaboom. I just go ahead and Thunderbolt on that Cinderace because I knew I outsped it. Now, Rillaboom's on the field, which means Tornadus is on the field. He goes for a knockoff, doesn't knock off anything because he already did, and he doubles into his, or he doesn't even double, he just goes into his Raging Bolt. I go for a knockoff, get rid of the Assault Vest. And of course, you know how it is. Raging Bolt's on the field, say hello to Tinglu. But this time he does predict that. It goes for the Terra Fairy Terra Blast. However, I do still devour that. Thank you, Tinglu, you absolute beauty of nature. Go ahead and tank another one, and just Whirlwind him out to die to Spikes later. Now, Registeel is back on the field. I do not want to get Body Pressed, so I end up switching back into Toxapex as he goes into Cinderace. He gives me my Spikes back. I'm cool with the Spikes. His Cinderace is gone. He has no way of getting rid of the Spikes if I put them back on his side of the field, but he does go into Raging Bolt. Volt switches out into his Registeel as I hit Recover. He gets rocks back up. I'm fine with all of this. I just need to get rid of these later with Registeel. Or, I'm sorry, not Registeel, with Regieleki. Switches in Raging Bolt on the Surf and ends up dying to be Poison. Rillaboom comes in. I'm fine with losing to Letty at this point on the likely Woodhammer, so that's what happens. I do die to the burn, not the Woodhammer, which does kind of suck. But I go into Regieleki, I just need to get rid of these hazards. So I just go for the Rapid Spin. I am completely fine with losing Regieleki if he decides to stay in and do something about it. But he doesn't. He just decides to keep switching around. Rillaboom gets Thunderbolted. I go right into Cleavor as he goes into Registeel, and I know at this point I can just hit CC and kill whatever comes in. So I get a nice kill on Registeel. Rillaboom comes back in, and I don't want to get Grassy Glide, so I go into Tinglu. I'm just going to sack it. I don't need it anymore. He decides to go for a Woodhammer instead. So I just go into my Regieleki and hit Volt Switch. Now, in hindsight, should have hit Thunderbolt, just so I could put a little more pressure on that Urshifu, but that's fine. I go Toxapex on the Urshifu and just decide, because I expect to completely wall it. He goes for a Swords Dance, and I foolishly think I can live 2 of these. I don't live 2 of these. I barely live 1. So Climactic Honnold is currently pooing himself in front of this Urshifu, but that's fine. I let it go down to the Wicked Blow. And at this point, I am hoping. I don't have Calcs, so I'm just silently hoping that I live the Sucker Punch. And with that, we are able to make a nice comeback after our last week's performance, and we are able to take a 3-0 victory over ClubShay. Now, before I close out the video, I just want to let y'all know we did do a few transactions going into week 4. So we did end up dropping Whisper, the Lucario, and Cryogen, the Cryogonal. It did 07s to them, but I never saw a time where we would ever bring Lucario over Hoopa as a Terra Captain, and Cryogen was more so dropped for one of the pickups that we made this week. So with those drops, we were able to make King Chip, our Skeledirge, a Terra Captain, which I find will help us be a little more defensively Terra'd in the future, as well as pick up a nice Serena. It still gives us hazards control, which Cryogen did. It does mean we do not have a Snow Abuser anymore, but that's fine. It also gives us a nice grass type to help us deal with our insane ground weakness, as we saw from last week. So hopefully going forward, we should be able to be a little less stressed about earthquakes. And hopefully we'll keep this, hopefully we'll start a win streak here, hopefully. But till then, see you next time.